Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a story for you that still sends shivers down my spine every time I think about it. It's one of those things you see in movies, but never, ever expect to happen in your own home. It all started when my partner, Alex, and I moved into our dream house. A charming, creaky old Victorian that had been standing for over a century. We were so excited to fill it with unique pieces that matched its character. That's what led us to a dusty little antique shop tucked away on a side street we'd never noticed before. The place smelled of old wood and forgotten stories, and that's where we found it. Leaning against a wall, covered in a thin layer of grime, was this enormous, ornate mirror. The frame was carved with intricate patterns of vines and flowers, and though the silvering was slightly tarnished around the edges, it had this undeniable presence. We both felt drawn to it instantly. The shop owner, a peculiar old man with eyes that seemed to see right through you, gave us a strange look when we said we wanted it. He just grunted. He'd seen a lot. That one. We laughed it off as part of the antique shop charm, paid the surprisingly low price, and hauled our new treasure home. We decided to hang it in the main hallway, right at the bottom of the grand staircase. It looked perfect there, as if it had always belonged to the house. For the first few days, everything was normal. It was just a beautiful mirror. We'd catch our reflections as we passed by, fix our hair, and think nothing of it. But then, the weirdness began. It started subtly. I'd be walking down the stairs and, out of the corner of my eye, I'd think I saw someone else in the reflection, standing just behind me. When I'd whip my head around to look, there was nothing. Just me, my reflection, and the empty hallway. I tried to dismiss it as my eyes playing tricks on me in the dim light. This old house had its share of strange shadows. After all, Alex had similar experiences. He mentioned once that he thought he saw a little girl in a frilly dress in the mirror-esque reflection, sitting on the bottom step of the staircase. He blinked, and she was gone. We both laughed nervously, blaming it on the stress of moving and our overactive imaginations. We were probably just tired, but the tricks of the light became more frequent and more detailed. One evening, I was home alone, tidying up. As I walked past the mirror, I glanced at it and froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. For a split second, reflected behind me, was a tall, thin man in an old-fashioned suit, complete with a top hat. He wasn't looking at me, but staring up the stairs with a deeply sad expression. I spun around so fast, I nearly fell over. The hallway was completely empty. The silence in the house was suddenly deafening. I couldn't explain it. There was no way it was a trick of the light this time. It was too clear, too solid. That night, I couldn't sleep. Alex and I talked about it, and he admitted he was getting freaked out too. The reflections were never there for more than a heartbeat, just long enough to make us question our sanity. They were always of people in what looked like old-timey clothes. A woman in a 1920s flapper dress, a young boy in knickerbockers, the sad man in the top hat. The creepiest part, the mirror reflected us, the house, the furniture perfectly. But these other figures, they only appeared in the glass. They were never actually in the room with us. The turning point came when we decided to do some research on the house. We were desperate for answers. We spent a weekend at the local library, digging through town archives, old newspapers, and property records. What we found turned our unease into sheer terror. We started finding records of the families who had lived in our house over the past 120 years, and we found death certificates and obituaries. The first one we found was for a little girl named Lily, who passed away in the house from scarlet fever in 1908. The newspaper clipping included a family portrait. In the photo was a little girl with big, curious eyes, wearing a frilly dress. It was the same girl Alex had seen reflected in the mirror, sitting on the stairs. A cold dread washed over us. We kept digging. We found an article from the 1930s about a man named Arthur Pennington, a stockbroker who lost everything in the crash and tragically ended his own life in the house. The accompanying photograph showed a tall, gaunt man with a sorrowful face, wearing a suit and a top hat. It was him. It was the man I had seen in the mirror. One by one, we matched the ghostly reflections to former residents who had passed away within the walls of our home. The woman in the flapper dress, a young lady named Eleanor, who had died during a party in the Roaring Twenties. The boy in Knickerbocker, a young lad who had a fatal fall down the main staircase. The mirror wasn't just reflecting our reality. It was reflecting the house's past, its history, its tragedies. It only showed the people who had died there. We realized the mirror wasn't haunted in the traditional sense. The figures never interacted with us. They never left the confines of the reflection. They were like echoes, trapped in the silvering, replaying moments from their lives, and, it seemed, their deaths. They weren't malicious. They were just there, memories captured in glass. But knowing that didn't make it any less terrifying. Living with a constant, silent audience of the dead was something we just couldn't do. Every time we passed the mirror, we'd see them, a fleeting glimpse of a spectral face, a figure in the background of our own reflection. Our home, our beautiful dream house, had turned into a gallery of ghosts that only we could see. We knew what we had to do. We couldn't smash the mirror. That felt wrong, disrespectful to the memories it held, and we certainly couldn't sell it to some other unsuspecting family. So, one morning, we carefully took it down from the wall. The hallway immediately felt lighter, less oppressive. We wrapped it in thick blankets, tied it securely, and carried it up to the attic. We placed it facing the wall, deep in the darkest corner, and covered it with an old canvas tarp. We haven't looked into it since. Sometimes, when I'm home alone and the house is quiet, I can still feel a sort of stillness from the hallway. A sense that something is missing, but it's a peaceful feeling, not a scary one. The house feels like it's finally ours. We still love this old place, with all its creaks and groans, but we learned a valuable lesson. Some antiques are beautiful because of the stories they hold, and some are just better left untold, covered in a dusty tarp in the attic. So, what do you guys think? Have you ever had an experience with an object that seemed to have a life of its own? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks so much for watching and sharing this creepy little part of my life with me. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more strange tales. Until next time, stay curious and maybe think twice before you bring home that old mirror. See ya.